The Three Seas Initiative is a forum of 13 states in Central and Eastern Europe focused on developing infrastructure between the member countries. Today, the 10th anniversary summit of the Three Seas Initiative was held and was attended by all the most important politicians involved. Over the past decade, the Three Seas family has gained new members and today includes a total of 21 stakeholders. Today, the Three Seas Initiatives consists of 141 priority projects, 2 investment funds, and more being designed, and an extensive network of partnership. The summit in Warsaw was attended by a special guest, the United States Secretary of Energy, who came to the summit at the invitation of President Duda to discuss the Polish nuclear power plant in Pomerania, which has been delayed by the current government for a year and a half. My team and I were courting him to come because we were concerned that things were not going very well with this investment, that things were being delayed. After Donald Tusk and his team took over, they clearly began to slow down this investment, as well as many others. That is why yesterday, in the presence of the US Secretary of Energy, a framework agreement was signed for the construction of the first nuclear power plant in Poland.
To deliver secure, affordable, reliable energy to the people of Poland and launch a nuclear cooperation between our two countries. I met many world leaders here from the region that aspire to prosperous, independent, liberating futures for their citizens. America's all in on partnerships with all of those nations.
Without the Three Seas Initiative, there would not have been such an American commitment. And without the Three Seas Initiative, Prime Minister Donald Tusk would not have been able to take pictures with the Secretary of Energy and enjoy the Polish-American relationship developed by the previous government and above all by President Andrzej Duda. Chris Wright spoke about the Polish-American partnership, which began back when the United Right government was in power in Poland before they lost power in late 2023.
So nuclear energy is a big investment. It's long-term partnerships, and the American people have been aligned with the Polish people since the founding of our country. We share a love of freedom, a love of our freedoms, a love of an energized life and economic opportunity for our citizenry. So this project will bind an already tight relationship between the US and Poland.
This is not only about showing this technology, but they want to give a financial guarantee and other such things. It is absolutely beneficial for us. Besides, if the Americans are economically involved in the territory of a country, it goes without saying that these interests will be guarded in one way or another by the American military. The problem is that today most of the strategic agreements related to defense and energy made by Poland's previous government while still in power have been stalled, with Poland's first nuclear power plant in the lead. After Donald Tusk's government came in, everything really came to a standstill. The whole project went back to ground zero. The company is still there, the officials and the CEOs all retain their titles, they're still getting paid, but the project of building a nuclear power plant is not going forward at all. Nothing is being done. The question is, what would be the next fate of the Polish-American nuclear power plant? The current government seems to be seeking help among their preferred allies in Berlin.
Zasadniczy problem jest następujący.
The fundamental problem is that in Europe, both the French and the Germans, in terms of the energy and armaments, simply have older technology. The delivery time is longer, the completion date will be later, and the cost will be much higher.
Ta ekipa zawsze była antyamerykańska.
This faction has always been anti-American. They seek, together with Germany and France, to drive the Americans out of Europe, which would pose a mortal danger for Poland. This is not just about military issues, though they are important. This is also about the economy, about deals signed for the benefit of Poland in particular, but also for the United States. The Polish-American nuclear project, started during the Law and Justice government, has not been progressing since Tusk's coalition took power in late 2023. Therefore, the upcoming presidential election will provide the answer as to whether the Polish-American alliance, followed by economic cooperation and the presence of American troops in Poland, will continue.
To jest możliwe tylko przez ścisłej współpracy.
These are the technologies we need, but this is only possible with close cooperation with our most important partner in NATO, and a partner that should also be our largest economic partner. Everything depends on how Polish society will vote in the upcoming presidential election, come May the 18th. If it goes well, there are indeed great opportunities ahead for us for cooperation with the United States. The presidential election will provide an answer about the future fate of initiatives such as the Three Seas Initiative. The stakes in the upcoming elections are very high. They will give an answer to the question of whether Poland will remain in a close alliance with the United States. The topic of the Migration Pact returns like a boomerang during the election campaign. Yesterday's debate was no different. So far, all EU institutions are saying straightforwardly, Poland will either accept illegal migrants or pay for them. But that doesn't stop Rafał Trzaskowski from lying to Poles. At that time, I wrote clearly in the EU documents, which you probably don't know because you know little about the European Union, that if there was migration pressure from Ukraine and if we helped Ukrainians, because in 2014 we were also threatened with that, then we wouldn't accept anyone into Poland. And then we made this huge effort, the majority of Polish people, whom I thank from this place. And there is no question of any migration pact and its enactment because we have it written down in the EU documents that we did our part. Only no one has seen these documents. There are no such documents, and Donald Tusk and his deputy, Rafał Trzaskowski, say one thing, and Europe says quite another. The Migration Pact is in force, and there are hard rules. Let me remind you that it was signed a week after Donald Tusk took power, and it was accepted. They are lying in plain sight for the election campaign. Instead, there are other EU documents showing Trzaskowski's deception. We have been exempted, in fact, from any other obligations because this is written in the EU documents on accepting anyone else. This is the response of the EU Commissioner for Migration. Under EU law, there is no legal way to exempt Poland from implementing any parts of the pact. There are also clear statements from European Commission officials. So please give me a straight answer whether Poland can be exempted from the Migration Pact, yes or no. It's our common migration pact. It is very important that all member states, 27 member states, participated in this pact. I was saying earlier that different member states have a little bit different challenges when it comes to migration, but it is very important that we all cooperate in the pact. Trzaskowski's narrative is refuted by foreign MEPs who support the 13th December coalition. Accepting war refugees from Ukraine will not give Poland anything. Probably, hence the construction of integration centres for foreigners and the blackmail of local governments. I have a letter that your authority from the Łódź Voivodeship Assembly, managed by Civic Platform, is sending at this moment to the local governments of Łódź. This letter was received by the mayor of Bełchatów, and in this letter it is written that if some municipalities oppose the construction of migration centres, this is what Law and Justice did after all. No, it's your Sejmik. What are you saying? This kind of action will be considered discriminatory and will end with beneficiaries losing the possibility of obtaining union subsidies and being obliged to return the subsidy with interest. You want to take away from local governments that did not want to build integration centres for foreigners EU money and have them return the money they have already taken. This is a letter from now and not from 10 years ago. I am not from Łódź. Civic Platform Marshal Szydlewska. Do you know her? Your fellow party member? It seems that Trzaskowski knows Miss Marshal Szydlewska, and it was she who threatened either the construction of an integration centre for foreigners or EU money. But for the Tusk government to fully respect the Migration Pact, they need a president like Trzaskowski, also known as Deputy Donald Tusk. The deputy can't be worse than the boss. Right now, we have the safest border in the EU, and he constantly lies. What border security is Trzaskowski talking about? Here's a message from today. 26th of April, in the Opole district of Grudzica, a 29-year-old man riding a scooter was approached and attacked with a dangerous tool by an unknown man. We are publishing a memory portrait of the suspect. People who recognize the man are asked to contact us. Who is the man in the sketch? Perhaps an illegal migrant. This is in the West. In the East, another lie by Trzaskowski. He and Tusk assure that they have sealed the border, and there is no longer a problem of illegal migrants. The problem is there, and it's huge. Republika yesterday revealed shocking photos of the body of an illegal migrant in a forest on Polish territory. The leftist candidates are not leaving a dry thread on the government and Trzaskowski. Indeed, bad things are happening at the border. It's not airtight now, because airtightness is not built by press conferences of either that or that authority, only by the efficiency of the services. The Office for Foreigners does not work efficiently. People who are sent to the so-called strip are not well equipped. The left candidate, on the other hand, speaks critically of the government as if she has nothing to do with it. We remind you, she does. She is in this coalition. Mr. Duszczyk has repeatedly said that there will be no more deaths on the border, and this is another documented case of death on the border, because this border is neither safe for migrants, nor for our services, nor for local residents. The safety of Poles will decrease after the implementation of the Migration Pact, which is strongly opposed by Karol Nawrocki and Sławomir Mencen.
2 to 4 days. India's invasion of Pakistan could occur within this time window. According to Islamabad, war between the countries is inevitable, especially after Delhi's denunciation of the Indus Waters Treaty. The conflict has global significance through one very important fact. Both countries have a nuclear arsenal, and both have already openly admitted that they could use it during hostilities. The spiral of mutual accusations and warnings continues to escalate. Columns of military equipment are being drawn near the border from both sides. No one is deluding themselves anymore that the conflict can be avoided. The only question is when it will erupt and on what scale.
We are absolutely ready, at high alert. If there is a violation of our airspace or there's violation on the ground, if we are engaged in any way on the seas, we are prepared to respond.
The conflict between India and Pakistan involves disputed territories in Kashmir province. The region has been divided after 2 wars, but both sides still claim it. It was in Kashmir last week that a Pakistani terrorist group carried out an attack in a park on the Indian side of the province. 26 people were killed. That spark reignited the fire. We are angry at how militants killed tourists because of their religion. This is our protest against Pakistan and its militants. We demand that our government take swift and decisive action against them. The Indian government is listening to the people on the streets, and the people on the streets from Calcutta to Delhi to Goa are demanding a strike against its neighbor and justice. We should respond firmly to the attack by Pakistani militants who killed unarmed Indians. I ask the Indian government to take action as soon as possible so that Pakistan never dares to commit such acts of cowardice. India has already played the force card, which has forced Pakistan to respond forcefully. At issue is the denunciation of the Indus Waters Treaty, the rivers that flow into Pakistan from Indian territory. They are the ones that provide the border regions with field irrigation. India has just closed the dams through which the rivers flowed into Pakistan. If they stop the water, it will all turn into a desert, the whole country. The basic problem is water. Without water, nothing is possible. In theory, the dispute can be called regional. So why the world's interest in what's happening on the border between India and Pakistan? Both countries are nuclear powers, and both do not rule out the use of nuclear charges in the event of an enemy threat.
Our valiant armed forces remain fully capable and prepared to defend the country's sovereignty and its territorial integrity against any misadventure.
We want an immediate de-escalation of tensions between Pakistan and India before the situation worsens. Our foreign ministry and other units are monitoring the situation. The situation is also being closely watched by the Americans and the Chinese, with both sides today weighing this potential conflict for the geopolitical situation. At stake are trade routes and potential turbulence in the markets after a highly turbulent week of tariff war.
We again urge both the governments of India and the government of Pakistan to exercise maximum restraint to ensure the situation does not deteriorate further.
For now, however, there are no signs of de-escalation from either side. It is almost certain that India will retaliate. According to the latest unconfirmed information from Kashmir, there have already been exchanges of fire in the area of border posts in the province.
Monday, 12:30. Both Spanish and Portuguese media are reporting the first mentions of a blackout. Electricity problems are occurring in Madrid, Lisbon, Valencia, and Barcelona, among others. Rail traffic was halted, the subway was not running, and air traffic was also partially restricted. Traffic lights did not work on the streets of Valencia or Madrid. To tell you the truth, I didn't realize it at first. I thought the Wi-Fi had stopped working, but then I went to the room where my coworkers were, and they said there was no electricity. Hospitals switched to their emergency power systems. As of noon today, local time, life is slowly returning to normal on the Iberian Peninsula. It was chaotic because no one was saying anything. There was no electricity, no cellular connection, no way to talk to relatives. The exact cause of the outage is still yet to be clarified. At this point, just one thing is certain. We can rule out a cybersecurity incident in the electric grid facilities at the Electric Grid Control Center. Indeed, there has not been any kind of intrusion into the electricity grid control systems. The head of the Spanish government said the matter will be resolved with due diligence. People should be certain that the Spanish government will get to the bottom of this matter and that the necessary reforms and measures will be taken to ensure that this does not happen again. And of course, we will hold all private operators accountable. The blackout in Spain and Portugal has been called the most serious blackout in the country's history. But can such blackouts be prevented in the future? Each country has its own electricity transmission system operator and manages the system on an ongoing basis, so that there is electricity in the outlets and so that no spike in supply or shortage of energy occurs. The massive blackout that paralyzed Spain resulted in huge losses, estimated at 4.5 billion euros. Hopefully, this event will not have been the first of many.